Yeah, sure. So like that notion that you just said can be a good one, but like when I talk about like the fossils of the creatures that you see on the board like before your eyes, that's not an opinion, right? It's not an opinion that there was a creature called the
Proof. Yeah,
Ardipithecus.
yeah.
Yeah, like there's physical proof about that. And then we can also like see that every species on this planet is related to each other in some way. And that's just a fact. That's not like that's not an opinion. And we can look at these like pieces of information. We can look at embryology, we can look at genetics, and from there we can make the connections that form what we know as like evolution. So it's not my opinion that like evolution exists. It's just based upon the facts that we can observe, that we've experimented on and have.
But bro, you're getting the answers from the scientists. Like Charles Darwin, right, came up with evolution.
He didn't make it up. He's the first to explain it in the way that he explained it.
Yeah, like they're
like Isaac Newton explained gravity, but he didn't invent gravity.
Yeah, true. But respect to you lot, honestly, bruv. But anyway, I really think you lot should change the topic because it's not really relevant to now because I don't think we're gonna be evolving anytime soon, you know.
So,
well, sure, not anytime soon, but I just like talking about evolution.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong, bro. But I just want to say, Palestine, yeah, shall be free, God willing. And,
oh yeah, definitely, free Palestine.
And the
I told you that would happen when I said I was a Jew. I knew it.
You're a Jew. There's nothing wrong with Jews, no, honestly, because the Judaism.
That's why that came up that way. Just so you know.
No. I didn't know you were a Jew. Firstly, yeah, and I wanted to say that Judaism is not really pure Jewish now anymore because Zionists have taken over Judaism. Right?
Okay,
I'm not going to have this conversation.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not.
Yeah,
not going to talk about politics.
That's why I mentioned that I might screw the live up by saying what my faith is, but you know, whatever. It's not a conversation to have.
Sure.
What I think interesting.
Don't start accusing people of things just because they say that they're a religion. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's fine. I knew this would happen. On another thing, I think it's really interesting. I don't understand why the belief in God has to exclude evolution.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I am not a Christian, Sierra. But no, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, no, like God can exist with evolution, right? Like you might. Here we go. There was a guy that sent an invitation earlier, and I tried to let him up, but for some reason it just wouldn't let him connect. Okay, there. It's letting him connect now.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, you guys can hear me all right?
Pretty well, yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited for this. I've been listening for a little bit, and I can understand. I'm a Christian, and but I completely agree with they can.
Oh, the data is kind of going out on your side.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now? You guys all?
Yeah.
Pretty well. Okay, so the data looks like it fixed, and I could hear you, but now it says that you're paused.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I'm back.
No, yeah, you're all good. You were saying that you were a Christian,
My
but...
phone. All right, awesome. Yeah, I agree with you how some of these things can go hand in hand because I believe that a lot of things out here we don't have answers for, and a lot of it doesn't make sense, and going hand in hand does make sense on a lot of it. And do I think that evolution and creation are can technically see? It's just a hard subject in general because just like you said, there's so much evidence in with fossils and how old fossils are and how things used to be things. But I don't know. I guess what are your guys' take on? I heard the Adam and Eve thing. How you guys were saying that they could be the first humans to be conscious, have that consciousness, and I could agree with that. I mean, we don't technically know.
Yeah. So like,
you know.
Yeah. So like for me, I'm a deist, so I do believe that a God created the universe, right? And I don't necessarily believe in the Adam and Eve story. I don't believe in like most supernatural claims like that. But my life isn't about like promoting deism. It's just talking about evolution. And so when people come up and they say Christianity and evolution don't go together, I try to look at their framework and be like, well, because I also talk with Christians all the time that do like believe in evolution, and I ask for their reasoning. And so I give them like the reasoning that they give me, so that way it can help them like better understand, like from their perspective at least, about how like evolution has been incorporated into their faith.
Right, yep. And so my biggest thing when it comes to evolution, because I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm not saying I'm right, you know, and my biggest thing, and I don't want to repeat what other people have been saying, but just the change of kind. Where is there more like an actual change of kind? Just like you said earlier, you know, the finches are still finches, but they have grown smaller beaks, or the wisdom teeth, we're growing without wisdom teeth, but we're still what we are. And like there was fish that got caught into a cave and their offspring started to be born without eyes, but they're still fish. I guess that's my only thing is when it comes to evolution, where's the evidence of it happening with not just us?
Yeah, so I personally like to pull up whale evolution. We know that we can trace back whales to a creature known as the Indohirus, which was a four-legged, fuzzy mammal creature that was just like walking on the land.
Yeah.
He kind of looked like a wolf.
I actually know exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, there we go.
Kind of furry, wasn't it?
Yeah. And when it started like roaming around the coastlines and starting eating like getting more of like a fish diet more rather than like a woodland diet or something like that, like catching like rabbits and stuff or whatever. It wouldn't be rabbits, but still. Like getting more of a fish diet, it started spending its time more in the water, and then it would later turn into the Pachycetus, and then from there the Pachycetus would just continue living out like its life in like shore waters or like shallow waters, and from what we can tell from the fossils, it would later become the Baleosaurus, and then the Baleosaurus would become what we know as like the modern day blue whale. And we can see like the vestigial structure of when it was a four-legged creature. You can see that it has hips, a hip bone tucked away in its blubber. It has absolutely no use for those hip bones, right? So why is it there?
Right.
Well, the reason why it's there is because it used to utilize those things back when it was the Indohirus, but now it just doesn't do that anymore.
Right. Back when it was the Indohirus, was its DNA the exact... Obviously, things will change when you adaptation and stuff, but was its DNA still the same as modern day whales?
Portions of it like would be like still carry over into modern day whales, but I'm not a geneticist, so I don't want to say any more than that. Mac, would you have more information specific genes?
Genetics is not my specialty in any way, shape, or form. I actually started based on the astronomy and the hydrothermal vent stuff because I find it really interesting, and everything else is like a side quest. It's not, but like for me, all of this is side quest on what I'm, actually studying. But so the part of the way that the genetics works, just for example, I'm gonna do something really easy, like our eye color, right?
Right.
So the way that works is that your parents have some genes and don't have others. That's not really how that works. Some genes are turned on and some genes are turned off. So there's two different things. Either the genes are patterned differently or some have on and off switches. So when we're talking about evolution, like from this wolf-ish creature into whales, some genes get changed and some get turned on and off, right? So like mutations are a really good way to talk about it, I think. Basically, which wolf thing was best at catching fish? The one who could hold their breath longer. So, the ones who could hold their breaths longer That's encoded somehow in the genes.
Right.
That
And which they mated
longer.
with. Okay.
Yeah, they became the healthiest because they ate the most fish and they lived.
Yep.
So they stayed with other ones that also could breathe and like hold their breath longer. And so there comes a time at this point where there are no longer that type of wolf thing that can hold its breath as long, and so it doesn't get fish and it dies. And it keeps going and it keeps going like that. So our genes are substantially similar to every other living thing's genes. So human genes are substantially similar, 75% similar to strawberries. And I think it's like 96 or something to bananas, 97 to chimps or bonobos, which are even closer than chimps. It's a different type of ape. But what's different is the genes that are turned on and off. And 1% sounds like not a lot, but 1% is a lot. So 25% is a lot. So 50% is a lot. So it's not one or the other, this on-off versus the same or different genes. It's both of those things that contribute. Where exactly is the line between one species and another? We don't actually have lines between one species and another. When people are talking about like, oh, how come the missing link, right? The Homo erectus, who comes right before Homo sapien, which is what we are, there probably are beings in between Homo erectus and us that are more similar to us than they were to Homo erectus. There's in-betweens of all of these things. It just takes an incredibly long time. Like
I think a good example actually would be the Homo habilis, right? Because before the Homo habilis, we have the Australopithecines,
which is
but
way further back.
Yeah. But there's a debate among evolutionary biologists right now if Homo habilis should even be considered a human because of how similar it looks to Australopithecines. But there's also parts of it that look very similar to the humans. So even within like evolutionary biology, there's not like a clear like line to draw of like where humans even came about, right? Like if I get like one Homo erectus skull and one Homo sapien skull, an evolutionary biologist is going to be like, oh yeah, no, those are definitely different. I can pinpoint them. But if I got like 100 that went like all down a line and I slowed and like it showed the different formations, an evolutionary biologists will argue with each other for 100 years on which skull is specifically the Homo sapien skull and which one is specifically the Homo erectus skull. They'll argue for that for decades and probably not come to a conclusion.
Yeah, it's really hard. I was actually, one of my favorite courses in undergrad was in a what's it called, forensic anthropology course, and the entire first half of the course was we had models of the skull fossils. And one of our exams was literally to line them up in order and name them. And you could see when you line them up, like when they are literally lined up in front of you, you can see what those really, really slight differences are. Like, I think the one that most people would know is Neanderthals, or what we like to call cavemen, have really, really pronounced eyebrow ridges, right? Yep. Or I think it's Denisovians have kind of a ridge on their skull that leads to stronger cheek and jaw muscles. And if you look at apes, like a gorilla, for example, they have a way higher ridge with even stronger jaws. You can see that they're slightly different in these different groups. And it's kind of human-made what the lines really are. We just group these things together. Something might be...
Something I wanted to ask you guys about Neanderthals, too, since we're on this topic.
Yeah, sure.
So this is something that I've thought about for a while now, and I've never really had anyone to say if this is maybe a possibility or not. Do you think that the reason why the Neanderthals looked the way they did possibly could have been from a slight Neanderthal inbreeding? Because there wasn't clubs to go out on the weekends to meet other Neanderthal women. So you had your own little Neanderthal tribes, and you really didn't go any other tribe you came across to. I'm sure it wasn't a friendly meeting. You know, so I'm sure they were pretty limited on the their pickings, you know, back at the home village. So I don't know.
Yeah, so we have evidence of like Neanderthals being like kind of like generally hostile, right? Because we have evidence of like Homo sapiens first attempting to leave Africa and go into the Levant, but then being pushed out by Neanderthals for whatever reason, we're not sure if it was like an actual like confrontational battle or if the like Homo sapiens were just scared. But I mean, that does show us that like Neanderthals were more territorial. Now,
Sure, they were scared. I mean, look at them.
yeah. Now, I'm not sure if it would be like considered like if that specifically is what would have caused the like inbreeding of Neanderthals, but there is like some evidence to suggest that that inbreeding did go on in certain bands of Neanderthals. Just because of like the like social structures that we're able to get. Like, have you heard of something called Shanidar Cave?
We love Shanidar Cave.
Shanidar Cave is in northern Iraq, and it is filled with Neanderthal fossils. And it's assumed that all of these Neanderthals...
Yes, I do know this, actually. I do know this.
There we go. Yes. So, yeah, it's assumed that all of them lived like I was about to say communally, like familially, that they were all like a part of a family or something. But there's evidence to show like defects amongst those fossils that kind of lean credence to inbreeding. So that's a little bit of evidence that we have of inbreeding going on within Neanderthals. So that possibly is like one of the main reasons why they have like an extended skull in the back. I don't mean to say extended. There's like an actual term for it, but for lack of a better... Yeah, like a bun or something, but it's not like a hair bun. But like, yeah, that's probably why they had like that formation in their skull. But yeah, no, like we have the evidence of inbreeding going on. Is that why their fossils looked like that? Maybe, maybe not.
Right. Yeah. You know, I'm very intrigued by this whole conversation, and because I would love to tie Christianity and stuff to what you guys are talking about, because I'm sure there are things that do go hand in hand. Like, for instance, when they were talking about the Big Bang earlier, and now you were saying, and that expands the universe, and he was saying, well, it's the start of the universe. Well, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure which one that is, but you know, just like you said, I'm sure you believe you said that you believe in a creator as well, right?
Yes.
Right, because something couldn't come from nothing, right?
My reasoning goes beyond that, but yes.
Okay. And I guess my biggest thing here is I agree with that the Neanderthals, all the other species of humans, they could have all stemmed from... You know, a long time ago, Adam and Eve could have totally been the ones with the first conscious. If they were Adam and Eve, when I see them, I'll ask them. I don't know. You know, that's the way I think about it. You know, I love the open mind and stuff like that. If I'm wrong about something, I guess I'll figure that out one day. But like, I believe how in the Bible the first words are "Let there be light." Well, what happened in the Big Bang? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I think it is important to note that the person who first formulated the Big Bang was a Catholic priest, so definitely, like, going to make a lot of connections there with that. But yeah, no, like, I think that that's, like, a good connection to make. I don't know if I would consider that as, like, evidence of Christianity being true, but I mean, like,
right.
It's a good connection to make.
We don't know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
I mean,
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, you know, little similarities such as that. And, you know, just like, for instance, when it says in the Bible 7 days, well, I don't think that the 7 days could literally mean 7 days, because to the creator of the universe, he's not limited by time, space, or matter.
Yeah, well, I mean, even in John, like even
that's
in
how Jews
John,
see it too. Jews see that the 7 days isn't what we think 7 days is. There wasn't even a sun until I think 4. So like,
yeah, well, technically Christians should like think that too, because it literally in John it says like God is not like God's time is not our time. Like 1 day to God could be
1,000 years is a day or something like that.
Yeah,
a million years, a billion years. We can't know that.
Right, it could be anything. We don't know, because we're just stupid little humans. But yeah, I don't know. I really it fascinates me to make these connections and throw our theories in theory, as in the point of like what you were saying earlier, of our guesses or hypotheses, because I think a lot of this can go hand in hand.
Yeah, like it kind of depends on like how you're going to build up your worldview. But I mean, yeah, like that's what I try to do, right? I don't try to throw any like one religion under the bus. Like I don't think that like Christianity is inherently wrong. I don't think that like Islam is inherently wrong. I think that there are like things within science that can bring some raise some questions within like its creations specifically. But I mean, like I've met multiple Christians that have been able to incorporate that into their faith. So I don't see like an issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. But well, guys, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for me. I was just curious about, what you guys' thoughts on some things, and I think you're doing a good thing, and I think that your open-mindedness is good, and I don't see why anyone would not also have open-mindedness, because we don't know. So
that makes you different than a lot of people. It's a great trait to be open to new information and different information.
I mean, I believe what I believe, but there's also some parts of me, like for instance, I believe in the Bible, but there's just some things that this was written a long time ago. They didn't know what Big Bang was back then. They didn't know what all this stuff was back then. So I think when you take it literally, word for word, and also this book has been translated, I don't even know how many times.
No, yeah. But, like something that I like to usually bring up, like, people will say, well, the Bible doesn't mention like all these other species and creatures. I always like try to give them.
That word wasn't even around. Like the word dinosaur wasn't a thing.
Exactly. Well, like also like imagine you're Moses. You're on top of Mount Sinai, and God's giving you like the story of like your people that you're supposed to write down. Is God going to say, "Oh, hey, by the way, there's this thing called a protocell that was created because of chemical reactions that were occurring like beforehand, and they created the first beings of life, and then the life evolved, and then it evolved into this and this and this." Moses' head would have exploded. Like it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Also, he's busy, doing other things. Like it doesn't need. Like he has Moses has a whole lot to do, like wander in the desert for way too long. But like, just because something isn't mentioned in the Bible doesn't mean it didn't exist necessarily. Even if you.
Something that I always think too is if I was the creator of the universe, my creation doesn't need to know a lot of things that how I made things. That's the way I think about it all the time. Is why would he give us this knowledge? Why?
Yeah, it's like your kid. It's like you with your kid. Your kid doesn't need to know why they can't have an all chocolate diet for the next like 15 years of their life. They just need to like trust you in that.
Dream come true.
Right. Well, that's exactly how I feel about people who think about God's existence. Is they're like, well, I can't see him and all this stuff. Well, here's what I think. If I was a king in a castle and no one has ever seen me, ever, and I'm allowing people into my castle, I'm not going to allow the people who, or I would rather allow the people who have believed in me without seeing than the people who see, Why would...
Sure, yeah. And that's why, like, even though I'm a deist, I hold, like, an agnostic stance when it comes to, like, obtaining information, right? I don't deny God's existence. I mean, I'm a deist. I do believe that he exists. I just don't believe in, like, the specific gods that we recognize. Right. But, like, but, like, I just go with, like, what evidence we're able to find, especially if it's through, like, experimentation and observations and stuff like that. So, like, that's how I try to build up that worldview. Even though I haven't observed God or have done an experiment to like get to God, that doesn't mean that like it doesn't exist, right? There are whole planets.
Right. Well, it's impossible to disprove it.
Yeah. For me, I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to disprove God. We're talking about a supernatural being. Like it's like how we. Yeah. But yeah, no. Totally.
What? If you don't mind me asking, you said you were Jewish. What are you? Just I guess I don't know the terminology. Are you the normal Jew or isn't it like an agnostic Jew? Or so I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, those words are really interesting. So Judaism like predates all of these words. The closest thing I could come to for what Judaism is a tribe. So that includes religious and cultural and all kinds of different beliefs. There are lots of atheist Jews. I call myself an agnostic Jew because I'm mostly under the impression that I don't really know, and that, to be honest, it doesn't really affect my life, and I should continue to do good and to do, to learn and to do good unrelated.
Right. And I know we're totally kind of getting off the evolution track, but do you?
Oh, it's all good. I'm about to
That's fine. But do you believe in Jesus? I'm just curious.
No, Jews don't believe in Jesus.
Right. Okay. I was just wondering.
For sure.
Yeah.
Before we hop off, can I talk about Shanidar Cave for a second? Because I love Shanidar Cave.
Go right on ahead. I'm doing research for it for a class, so whatever you're about to say, and if you could give me any articles, that would be very helpful too.
For sure. I'll follow you and then I'll DM you articles. But generally speaking, Shanidar Cave has a lot of really, really cool stuff, not just lots of, there's a reason that there are a lot of fossils in there of Homo neanderthalensis.
Yes.
Shanidar Cave was discovered in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And Shanidar refers to it's like a Kurdish word, and it's kind of the name of the animals or the people or proto-humans or whatever you want to call them, the Neanderthals that we found there. So there's a couple really cool things. One is that there's evidence for burial here. So why were all these found in the same place? Why in a cave? Why were they covered with we found flowers with them? It's really famous. Shanidar has flower burial. Well, the idea is that they probably had some sort of religion, because why would you need to do that to someone dead? So that's the theory, that there was maybe some religion, but something
maybe
really.
Love.
Wait, what?
Maybe love.
Maybe love, right? But that's evidence of thinking.
Never know.
Right, but that's evidence of thinking, which is really interesting. But the other really incredible thing for me about Shanidar is evidence of one of them. I think it was Shanidar 1, who had lots and lots of injuries. We see this not just in Shanidar, but in a lot of remains. Evidence of broken bones, evidence of diseases, evidence of which you can see. There's the way bones heal, you can see it with your eyes when a bone has been broken. That's how we know, if someone was killed before or after they, were hurled off a building. Because we know, the way that bones regrow when you break them has a very specific look to it. And it's really, really interesting because a lot of people love to say survival of the fittest without knowing what that means. Survival of the fittest isn't about an individual, it's about the species, which is what we've been talking about. The wolf-like creatures who can hold their breath better. That's survival of the fittest. The fittest in terms of the survival of a species or continued evolution of that species, adaptation of that species. A lot of people like to say, well, the Neanderthals didn't care about each other and this is, all for one, humans are individual. It's just not true. And
Neanderthals were super smart. Oh, not as smart as us, but.
Sure, but even the idea that if you broke your bone out in the wilderness as a Neanderthal, remember they don't have houses and first aid and all these different things, you could easily be taken care of for a lot of your life. For a long time, we have evidence of that, which I find just fascinating, and I think Shanidar is really cool. That's all.
Yeah, no. There's a whole lot of others that we found as well. We found two people that were buried together as well, so they were most likely a couple that something happened to them to where they were unalived at the same time, or maybe they were even in a rock slide, because the way that we see them is that they're they're cuddled together as if they were either buried at the same time or something happened to them. But yeah, no, Shanidar is pretty interesting, and it's not even Homo sapiens. There was one that was found that somebody thought was a Homo sapien at first, which led to the idea of cohabitation, but then they found out that it was just a younger Homo Neanderthal. So yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys, what's your take on the human footprints that were found next to dinosaur footprints, and they dated back to be the same age?
Dinosaur footprints?
Heard of that?
That's the first I've heard of it. I've heard of the White Sands National Park, but they don't mention dinosaur footprints. This is the first I'm hearing of that.
I mean, don't take that as I'm saying it's fact, because I don't know.
Don't worry.
But that might have been totally false. I feel like I've seen it somewhere. I didn't know if it was a true fact or not.
Next to dinosaurs.
So white sands
I'm going to disclose that I'm going to look it up on Google now. But no, yeah, you can go ahead and talk about white sands real quick if you'd like.
I won't talk about white sands for long, but I've never heard of the dinosaur thing. But white sands, which is a national park, you see human footprints or humanoid-ish footprints. They're human footprints with ice age animals, so like mammoths and saber-toothed tigers and things like that. But we know that humans existed at that point. They were hunting them. That's how we survived the ice age, is partially because of killing mammoths. Also, for the people in the comments, do you think mammoths are a type of elephant? Or that elephants come from mammoths?
Back? I heard 2024.
Nah, they're not coming back. But it's cute. It's interesting. They might use DNA to, like, maybe do alterations on elephants and bring some kind of hybrid.
Right, that's what I was thinking, like partial mammoth DNA. It's you'll never get a full-blooded DNA mammoth back, but you could get something very, very similar that looks just like it, I would think.
Yeah, you could easily.
And
I mean, maybe not easily. It's not alive DNA, you know, but
yeah. Do you think that if they release them into like the Russian tundra, that would be a good thing?
So it's hard to like introducing an animal to a new biohabitat. So like maybe they were in the tundra, but the animals have changed and the weather has changed and all these different things. Like, would it be good? I don't think so. We don't know. It can have lots of effects. Humans change like areas all the time, turning swamp into not swamp or all these different things that can mess with the ecosystem in ways that we don't necessarily understand.
Okay, so I found one by Genesis Park, and I looked at the source that it brought, and it went back to the White Sands National Park. So I don't know if like the person who wrote the post on Genesis National Park just doesn't know that that's not a dinosaur track. It's like the track of like a giant ground sloth. But yeah, no, because like
we're totally around.
I don't see any other sources that it's like pulling up from.
Right. What do you think? So going back to like relating evolution to the Bible, what do you think the Bible means when it talks about the Leviathan and whose tail who swings like a cedar? I mean, what animal on this earth has a tail that swings like a cedar tree? You know,
I can tell you what the word Leviathan means in Hebrew. It means whale.
Okay, which they do have big ass tails, so all right, that makes sense.
That's not a commentary on the Bible. I'm just saying that the word Leviathan means whale in Hebrew.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, like,
does it talk about a creature whose back is like armor plated and stuff in the ocean?
Armor plated in ocean. That's actually the first I've heard of it, like even from the Bible itself. So I'm not too sure on that one.
If you look at a blue whale, their backs kind of look plated. They're just it's striation, like there's different lines and stuff on them that might look that way. But there's also evidence.
I'm sure their back is also.
Oh, he's muted now.
No,
I didn't do that. I don't know what happened. Roseland, you're mute. I don't know if you can hear us.
Oh, sorry. I was getting a phone call.
Oh, that's all good.
I was getting a phone call.
Oh, that's all good. Oh, no.
It's doing the thing again.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to mute him, and then maybe that'll fix it.
If he unmutes now after the phone call always messes up a TikTok.
All right, is it better now?
Yes. Nope. The phone call always messes up a TikTok. Spoke too soon.
Okay, maybe he has to drop and then he can come back up. Okay, I'm going to drop you, Roseland, and then you can come back up if you do still want to talk. Because maybe dropping him and then them coming back in will help.
On that note, I am procrastinating things that I definitely have to do just because I felt the need to say my piece about Dunning-Kruger effects.
Oh no, yeah, I get a lot of those.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I didn't know that monstrosity was
good
about to
now.
happen.
It's all good. I do want to let you know, Roseland, that I am about to hop off. But I just wanted to get.
I was actually just getting on to say that I'm about to hop off too. I appreciate the conversation. It was a good time. Also, Roseland, I'm in a country band. If you guys want to check it out, please go ahead. But thank you guys for this conversation. Seriously,
For
it was a
sure.
good one.
Bookworm, I'm gonna send you some stuff about Shanadar on TikTok if you want.
Yeah, because I'm doing a presentation for my for like one of my classes that I'm about to do. So I'd very much appreciate
For sure.
other sources.
Love Shanadar. What's your topic specifically, or is it just an overview?
The human behavior that's like seen within Shanadar.
Oh, so like the burial and the like taking care of sick and elderly type stuff.
That, and if there's also any evidences of like the types of food that they were also eating and stuff. Because I know that there's like a high amount of pollen, which might have led to like lead credence to the idea of like that they were eating like honeycombs and stuff. But then we also found like the flowers that were there, so it's not out of the ordinary that there would be.
So there's some evidence to suggest that the flowers weren't intentionally placed, which is really interesting. But it doesn't really matter because there's still burial, which indicates something behaviorally anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can send you some stuff. I'll also I wrote a paper about this a very similar thing. So I'm gonna go look at the sources. They're older, but they're not particularly changed. I'll look at some stuff and I'll send it to you.
Thank you. I very much appreciate that.
Nice chatting, man.
Nice chatting to you as well.
Have a good one.
You as well. To the two guests in the box, I am about to hop off. Or I guess the one guest. My eyes are starting to hurt, and that's not good because I have homework that I need to do. So I'm going to go rest my eyes real quick, go touch some grass, and then I'm going to hop back on to it. So yeah, hope you guys have a lovely rest of y'all's day.